Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Dan's Models. John and Dan here. And this looks awfully familiar, Dan. We just saw this on the podcast, didn't we?
I did a repair on it because it had a driveline failure. So if you want to see how I did that, it's in our video podcast from August
1st.
August 1st.
The day before yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Right, as this comes out, yeah.
Yeah, by now I would have put a little link to it. So if you want to watch the podcast on how Dan fixed this model, click right there.
Yeah. Anyway, this is basically it's a Proto 2000 GP38-2 HO scale. I've modified it quite a bit. What happened is, long time ago, I had... because of eBay bargains that were irresistible, I ended up with about 5 of these things, Proto 2000 GP38-2s.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. And the Proto 2000 GP38-2s are kind of cool because they modeled them with different detail variations that the real GP38-2s had in terms of some details changed as they were produced over time. Like the really old ones had a wider fan spacing back here. They had different grills, and this filter deal up here was a different shape on some of them, and they had, some of them had anti-climbers like this one, and some of them didn't. So different variations. Anyway, I pretty much all of them used to kit bash something, like that GP38-2B, the Burlington Northern that I built.
Used one of those?
That was one of them.
Yeah.
The other BN GP38-2 was one of them. I did a couple others, and because I'd swapped and mixed and matched parts to get those engines to be prototype correct, I was left with a pile of parts that were kind of, didn't really match anything.
GP38 parts.
Yeah, GP38-2 parts that didn't really, I was looking for a prototype. And I wanted to have something that would at least have a remote chance of operating in the West. So I eventually found the CNW had some of these Operation Lifesaver GP38-2s that pretty much matched the parts I had.
So this is one of those rare cases of the parts driving the project rather than a prototype.
Right. A couple of manufacturers have released this paint scheme on GP38-2s, but none of them are actually 100% correct as far as I've been able to determine, because they're either, some detail on them is wrong, because there were so many production changes on the GP38-2. It's hard to get one that's completely accurate sometimes. So this one actually is pretty accurate. Starting with the chassis, I ended up having to change the motor to a Kato motor because the original proto motor in this particular unit was bad.
Wonderful.
All the other ones I have worked great and still have their original motors. But for some reason, this particular one, it just didn't run very well. So I ended up changing it to a Kato motor, and then I ended up having to redo the drivetrain. And because of a couple of choices I made in that, I ended up having to fix the drivetrain, which is what the podcast was about, because it failed on me. Other than that, it's fairly stock on the inside. I did have to cut out these things, they have a big weight that occupies a large portion of the inside of the shell, and I had to cut out a notch in the back of it to make room for speakers, because I have sound in this thing and the speakers back here. The body is pretty much stock except for I kept actually this is the one unit that I built that still has the Proto 2000 cab and sub base, but I did use a Canon short hood.
I remember that because it fell off when you were taking it apart.
Yeah, I had to glue that back on.
That part didn't show up in the podcast, but I saw it in person. It was kind of funny. I was like, oh, its nose fell off.
Right. Also, the other thing that was kind of major that I had to do with this one is I did not have the Proto 2000 roof hatch, which on some units would be a dynamic brake hatch. This one doesn't have dynamic brakes. And so I had to actually make this. And what I did was I had some roof hatches that were extra parts that I'd gotten off eBay for Athearn engines, but they were slightly short. And I don't know if Athearn got the shell wrong or Proto 2000 got the shell wrong, but somebody got the dimension wrong, and they were about a scale half a foot to a foot short. So what I ended up having to do was I took 2 of these things, cut them in half, and then put them back together to make a longer piece.
Right.
And then I had to do a lot of filing and sanding and puttying to make the seam go away. And then I also put the new exhaust, holes in
What are
there.
they, stacks or?
Yeah,
it's
the
not even
exhaust
really a
stack.
stack.
Well, they're
is
kind
it?
of short. Yeah, they're short. I actually shortened them to make them look more like the prototype ones. And then I also used some strip styrene to make the little seam down the middle, which was present on this engine. And of course, I added lift rings and Canon fans. And the beacon's actually kind of a custom part because it's taller than a normal beacon. CNW seemed to use beacons that no one else used, as far as I can tell. So I had to make that, and it's got a little one of those 603 surface mount LEDs mounted inside it.
Yeah, the decal under the cab looks really nice.
Yeah, those are micro scale decals. They actually offer the this paint scheme. Although I did have to the little. I think I had to change the length of the crossbucks on the side of the engine because they weren't quite right. So I had to fiddle with the decal a bit. And I think they're still not exactly 100% right, but they're closer.
It looks plausible the way it is.
Yeah. There was CNW used this Operation Lifesaver scheme on a few different types of engines, and I guess there were some variations between the two. But I chose 4604 because I had a lot of photographs of it that I found on the internet. So without having any strong preference for any particular one of these things, I did that one. And there's a lot of other things. I changed the air reservoirs on the side or details West parts because the Proto 2000 ones are too tiny and don't look good. I added a details West plow. I added my own uncoupling levers, MU hoses, and Katie scale couplers, and all kinds of things. A new horn. It's probably another details West part up there. Same thing with the firecracker antenna. Photo etched sunshades, windshield wipers.
All your normal details that you usually put on these things.
Right. So I did my usual thing where I have the number boards independently controllable.
Oh, that's nice.
From the headlight.
I like how the headlight shines off the top of the nose too. I mean,
yeah,
that's LEDs, right?
It's an LED, 3mm warm white LED shining through fiber optic strands.
Nice.
With the lenses, or the ends are heat flared to make lenses that fit into the headlight casting.
Yeah, I've seen that many times.
Yeah, it's become my standard method of doing lighting. I like it for a couple of reasons. One, it looks really good, and the other thing is it allows you to mount the LED somewhere else inside the model, because the fiber optics can be. I think in this case it's actually in the cab, but I mean I could mount it way back here if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You just run the strands as long as you need to, and in fact in the rear ones I usually do make them long because I actually run them through the speaker enclosure that I build.
Right, I've seen that a few times too.
Yeah.
This is actually a very nice shot of the fans.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Canon fans look really nice.
Yeah, thanks. Also, I think, this little knob thing, I have no idea what that is, but they're on the real one. So some kind of CNW thing. Maybe it's a vent of some kind. I don't know. But anyway, I'm sure somebody out there knows what that is. But
you're talking about just to the right of the headlight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little thing that sticks out looks a little round thing.
Yeah, that is weird. I wonder what that is.
I don't know. I haven't seen it on anything but certain Chicago Northwestern locomotives.
Yeah. I like that red dot down by just under the walkway in the back there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the MU connectors. That's sometimes they paint them red. I think sometimes those are the dummy connectors, or they just shove the plug when it's not mated to another engine.
Yeah, it looks neat on the back of this though.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you can see them, but there's some very tiny decals up at the top here. The engine number.
Oh, just over the little round plug thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was probably one of the hardest things to do with those little tiny decals because they're so small. But I actually cut those from a microscale sheet and sat there and did that, even though they're almost impossible to see. I forgot to put one part back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's another thing that it's not unique to Chicago Northwestern, but I think as far as I know, CNW is the only railroad that actually has a place for it with a sticker.
Yeah.
That says broom holder.
A broom holder?
Yeah, or something like that, or it says broom. Really is there's a sticker. So I have this little broom.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh. Now, is that something that came with one of these, or did you have to?
No, I had to buy the broom as a detail part from, I forget who made it, but I had to go find. I looked for HO scale brooms until I found one that was about the right size.
That's
and
funny.
I painted it like the ones that I saw on these engines.
So they must have had a lot of leaves they were sweeping off.
I think it's for
decks or
snow,
something.
actually, for winter, probably to brush the snow off the deck plating.
Yeah,
but. I thought it was kind of cool. They actually have a holder for it rather than just, because some railroads will just shove it through one of the grab irons somewhere,
That looks like it is a grab iron.
Yeah, but it's like a special one. That's. I mean, there's actually a sticker on there. That's. I don't know if you can read it, but there's a sticker behind it that says broom.
It's a broom iron.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's time to watch it run, Dan.
Yeah. So before I start it, I have this loaded with the Lokesound sound set for a GP38-2. Also works for an SD38-2. They released this fairly recently, and I just actually, I think after I built the engine. But one of the things I like about the Lokesound Select is you can reprogram it just by putting it on a programming track and connecting it to the Loke Programmer software. So anyway, I reprogrammed it, and we'll listen to what it sounds like.
All right. Well, it's a good one.
Thanks. I should mention that I painted it with scale coat paint.
Yeah.
So
I like this model. It's really cool. I mean, just like usual, when it first comes on, you're thinking, oh, it's another Jeep or whatever. But then you show all the little things, and I really like that broom. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't model CNW too much, but I think it's kind of neat to do it right when you do it.
Yeah, you might as well have it look good.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of a cool thing about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, guess that'll do it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, see you later.